Hello, I am Shane with Radical Rocks. I'm going to try this again. I am doing an introduction on Radical Rocks. I'm going to give you some history on what I do, just kind of how I am day to day, show you some of my rocks, show you some of my tools, talk about my history, talk about what we want to do on the channel, and give you a big round robin of all that, okay? So first off, before I show you my tools and some of my rocks and stuff, I just want to let you know I've been into rocks all my life, basically 50 years. My grandfather got me into rocks. He was a rockhound and into lapidary arts and got me interested in it. I had fossils as a kid. I played with rocks as a kid. That was on my mom's side. Now on my father's side, my father had mines, a couple mines that he did kind of recreational, but he took it serious. And my great-grandfather was a miner, and he was totally serious. He did it for a living for quite a while. And I worked on his claims as early as 7 and 10 years of age. So this is something I've been around all my life, and something that I have advanced at, I guess, from being a child just kind of born into it and raised into it and loving fossils and loving gems and minerals to making it my own. When I was 21, I started becoming an avid gold prospector with the dredging and all that back when it was legal in California before they decided we were killing all the fish. Totally not true, but that's another subject. I was picking up rocks along the way because a lot of times where gold is, there's other interesting minerals and gemstones and lapidary material. And then when I was about 23, I was working at Loma Linda University Medical Center, and I met a man named Forrest who was a lapidary guy. He had the grinder, and he got me on the machine grinding my first cabochon. And he moved out of state at some point. A couple years later, we'd go prospecting together. We'd go look for gemstones and stuff together. And he moved back to Maine, and he gave me a lot of his stuff, a lot of rocks and stuff. So my collection went from one bucket to like 2 or 3, and my son was born. My first son, Zach, was born, and in 1990, we joined a rock club right around that time, shortly after he was born. We bought our first grinding machine, which I still have. It's an old Highland Park, and we made a lot of cabochons, and we joined the Orange Belt Mineralogical Society in San Bernardino, California, a wonderful old lapidary group from way back when, and they have a shop and they go on field trips, and I got very involved with that when I was living in the area. Loved it, and had a club association ever since. I think I need to renew my dues, but so Radical Rocks is designed to talk about all things rocks and minerals, and I'm hoping to just bring this to light for the next generations, and hoping to be able to, from the podcast and the videos and the proceeds, some of the proceeds that we get from that, build the channel and also give back to, clubs and groups and different things of that sort toward getting interest in lapidary and just keeping it alive, right? So about a month ago, we started our blog and we started our podcast, and it seems to be moving along pretty good. We're getting some attention and some viewers, and we're hoping to build on the momentum that we've started this month. And also add to that videos. So this is the introduction to the whole Radical Rocks genre that we've been talking about. And to let you know where I'm at, I'm an old rockhound. My truck is getting some special work right now. I'm trying to get it beefed up for longer trips and stuff. But just to let you know, in my truck at all times, and if you're a real rockhound, you better have one of these with you all the time. If you don't, you're not a real rockhound, or at least in your truck. Okay, so I have pry bar, sledgehammer, and all this that I keep in my truck all the time, so that I can get rocks, right? I keep a couple bags. I have more stuff than this, but this is the basics, some eye protection. I've got a brush for sweeping things off for better inspections. I've got some containers in here for more fragile types of rock samples and such. I've got some head lanterns in case I'm working at night or in an area. Snuffer bottle's good. In fact, it looks like there's a little something in there right now. I've got a compass, which, you know, works good for finding landmarks on a map and such. And then if you get more serious, I've had claims and stuff like that, gold claims and mineral claims over the years. You want to get a range finder. These are really handy. And maybe we'll definitely do a video on how to use those someday if you haven't used one. It's not that hard, but it's very it's great for just finding out where you're at and landmarks and mapping claims and stuff like that. So those are my tools I keep with me in my truck all the time for when I'm in the field, and I bring more stuff too, but that's stuff I keep in there all the time. I'm always ready. Some of the bigger equipment that I have is packed away in my garage because in the next couple years, we're not really sure what we're going to do in the next year or two. We may try a different state, we're thinking. But here's some of the equipment that I have right here. Here's a rock saw. I think it's a 24-inch that I rebuilt. Works beautifully. And here's a 30-inch that I've got to work on down the line. So rock hounding equipment, I've always got my eye open for it, and that's a flat lap over there. It actually works. It looks pretty rusty, but it works. I've got some grinders here. These ones need to be refurbished, but as you can see, we just pick up what we can and are always ready for being able to do some sort of lapidary. All right. Thing. Once I was collecting all these rocks and everything, and then I joined the Gem and Mineral Club, and I could make the cabochons and cut rocks and do things like that. It's like, well, what am I going to do with all these cabochons? So I started acquiring this toolbox, which is for my silversmithing, and of course I have more stuff than just this, but this is a lot of my basic necessity tools. I have a lot of Dremel bits and stuff like that in here, tons of little files and things like that, and templates for drawing. Like any good rockhound, there's all kinds of unfinished bits and pieces and projects that, you know, just kind of went by the wayside until something else came along. I also have a variety of hammers for hitting the silver and pounding it. I've got ring stretchers, ring sizers. I have my torch set up right here for my small portable torch. Here's some sterling silver right here. Here's a real solid ring sizer that you can use as a tool as well. I've got snips, brandishing tools, the ring holder right here to hold a ring with, all kinds of pliers and wrenches and special pliers and things like that for doing silversmithing and working on those kinds of things. So, and then also when in your truck, I also keep a pair of field glasses for binoculars, which is real handy when you're scouring the hills, because if you find a good spot, there might be another one on the hill on the other side or something like that. So you can kind of scope it out here and see if the geology looks similar, and you want to hike over there. I always keep a field guide. This is not particularly the one I keep, but just an example of something you could bring with you. Okay. So that's kind of my tools. Real quick, I have a Dremel, of course, and other tools, but those are kind of a round robin of the tools I've collected over the years and more that I have in the garage. Some of the things I really love to collect, which is pretty much everything, but I really love turquoise, and I have collected some really nice turquoise. I've got a friend of mine has access to the tailings of Ikita Peak, and we have gone mining there a few times, and we're able to find some really nice pieces of turquoise. As you can see, this is not hardened or anything, and it is super hard stuff. And I've accumulated a little bit of this over time, so this is definitely going to be my up and coming projects that I do. in the near future. Beautiful, beautiful rock there. Also, one of the things I really love is chrysocolla from the Southwest. And so Copper World, I've got a bunch of Copper World chrysocolla. This is just, an example. A lot of it is very heavily infused with azurite, the blue. So it just, some of it's so much azurite that it's hardly even chrysocolla. I mean, it's just beautiful. Look at this piece right here, if you can see it. Isn't that great? Nice. This one's super blue too. Look at that one. So the stuff's hard to find out there anymore. I don't even know if they allow collecting out there anymore. I don't think they do, but back in the day, you used to be able to get out there and collect. It makes really good cabochons. I bought this cabochon off a friend of mine, Paul, who I was telling you about. We get the turquoise and stuff. He's out there in Arizona, and I think I paid $15 for it because I got a project going on. I really do want some chrysocolla cabs, and it takes time to make these, so he definitely deserves to get something for it. And he's on eBay. Maybe I'll put a link for his stuff. Also, out there in Arizona, you can find this Veracite, which is pretty nice. I've got a piece here of Veracite. This actually came out of Tonopah. I'm very partial to that, too. I like it. It's got some Jimmy green right there, you can see. Real pretty stuff. Sometimes chrysocolla that I find in California is not that great. Don't find it much anymore, but 20, 30 years ago, you used to find little bits of it here and there, and I would hit it with a hardener. Now, even though that looks kind of crummy, when you cut it, it can end up looking pretty nice. Okay, so this has been hardened and it's cut. Now, this is not chrysocolla. This is actually something else. This is what I like to call boulder turquoise. So when I was out there mining the turquoise from the Icatepec area, Icatepec is gone now. It's a mine. You can't get in there. But when I was looking for through the tailing piles that my friend has access to, I grabbed some of this stuff, and it just looks really good, And that's what this is. This is turquoise. This is actually from Tonopah, but this is a boulder turquoise, and it could be hardened and cut, and then I just cut a groove right in there like that and put some twisted silver, and they're very popular. I've done pretty well with them, and you just put a chain through there, and you can actually, almost like usually when you work on jewelry, you're working for less than minimum wage, but you can actually almost earn some money by doing these, I found. What else? So yeah, that's one of my projects. I have a lot of finished projects. Here's a petrified palm that I mined out of calico. I did the sterling silver there, and I've got some stamps on the back, so I've kind of branded it. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Done quite a few projects like that. Also, I like bola ties. I've got a few here. Some copper minerals that you can see. This one's really cool. You can see a little vein of silver. I'll try to get that up close so you can see it. Got a little vein of silver in it. Isn't that cool? And, just ordinary designs and some pretty agates. All right. So that's that. Here's one that I made that I didn't cut it. I just used the hardener on the top, and it looks pretty crummy. So I'm probably going to go back and do something with this one, flatten it off and get rid of that shine. It just doesn't look good. So it's a learning experience, Sometimes your ideas work, sometimes they don't. Show you some more stuff here that I got. I located a deposit. There's a ruby rhodonite out here, which is real pretty, out in San Diego, and I couldn't find the deposit, but I actually was able to find some pieces of float here and there, so I grabbed those. Here's a freehand cabochon I did. It's kind of a marble. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. Here's some sunstone. I bought that. Here's some gem silica that I found out in Arizona. I had a claim out there. Here's some starlight. Looks like a little cross starlight. You know, sometimes just a plain piece of, that kind of looks like a siliconized rhyolite to me. Okay, real pretty. And, you know, I go to the rock shows, and there's a piece of, what do they call that? Larimar, real pretty. You get a good deal on it, you can buy it. Of course, this is not my whole collection by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just showing you a few bits and pieces. Here's a piece that my grandpa was the last one to grind on it, piece of fire agate. He was real partial to fire agate. What else do we got here? Here's a piece. This is one. Yeah, this is one that my grandpa did as well. It's not the best because it kind of cracked, but it's got a little bit of fire in it. You can see it. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. What else, guys? Oh, here's one of the projects I've been working on lately. That's a rock that I found out in the desert and polished. And then my daughter has one of these, and she's 7. She's been wearing it. I'm kind of seeing how durable it is, how well it stays into the little pouch there. Kind of experimenting and seeing how that works out. Again, I'm real partial to turquoise. I've got a bunch of Kingman turquoise here. Real pretty stuff that I like to work with. This batch has been hardened with the Zachary treatment, but there's no dye. It's real turquoise. It's not crushed and put back together. It's not bits and pieces or anything like that. All right, what else here? Here's a piece. This was one of that property that I bought that had all that rock on it. This was one of the pieces that came out of there. I think it's from Paul Bunyan. It kind of looks like a crazy lace, but the red makes me think it's from the Paul Bunyan. And here's a piece I was making for my mom. I made my mom a little bit of jewelry. She did pass away, so I never got to finish it for her, but this piece of jadeite out of South Africa, real beautiful stone. So I am partial to the Southwest stuff, but I'm open to other stuff as well. Here is a piece of all natural turquoise from Kingman. It has not been treated, hardened, nothing. This is just natural out of the ground. They get very little of this. They get buckets of turquoise that they sometimes take it and process it and make it into pressed turquoise or other turquoise. And out of that huge bucket, they get maybe a bucket full of decent turquoise, but they put a hardener in it. They don't color it, they put a hardener in it. And then out of that, they get just maybe a handful of real nice little pieces like these that's just all natural from the Kingman mine. And if you go there directly, I think it's Kaufman or whatever, they have a store there, and sometimes they have a shoebox locked up in the back, and you can actually buy this stuff, and they sell it by the gram. So it's pretty expensive. I was working on a piece right here for my wife, and you can see, it's just still, it's not finished. So that's that. Here's something I've been selling to friends and stuff, and it's made with Tiger Eye, and that is Kingman turquoise. It's not been pressed or anything like that. It's just the way it dug out of the ground, but it has been hardened. But there's no dye or anything like that. And then all the beads are silver, and there's a little silver feather right there. And then this one's for a friend of ours, so she has an extra charm on here. But the nickel is the actual real buffalo nickel. And these have been pretty popular, so I've been selling a few of these. And it's leather on the outside. And that's been pretty cool. So I think that's about it. I'm just hoping that we can build this channel. We'll try to do interesting shows. If you have any ideas for a show, if you want a spotlight on your rock club, if you have a store, a rock shop, or a bead shop that has at least some rocks in it, If you do gems and minerals and you want a spotlight or something like that, let me know. If you've got a story, anything like that that you can think of. If you have a book, you want a book review or anything like that, and you want to get involved, reach out to us and we will work something out, hopefully, and get everybody's attention on rocks and minerals and help build this hobby up so that we have it for future generations. So one more time, I ask you guys to please go to our blog. It is radicalrocksusa.blogspot.com, and at the bottom of each blog, in the newer ones especially, I've got all our links for social media, the YouTube channels there, the Facebook, if it's not there, I'll put it there. But you already know it's Facebook if you're seeing this right now. But I will be putting this video on YouTube. So well, that's it. And remember, old rockhounds don't die, they petrify.